back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hi guys! So I am here today to do a book review for two books that are in the same series. The first one in that series is The Clan of the Cave Bear. This is by Jean M. Auel and it's called the Earth's Children series, I believe. And this is book one. And the second book in that series is this one, The Ballet of Horses, also by her. And I am going to tell you my thoughts on both of these books, starting with the first. So, this book has been on my shelf for years. Probably the longest out of nearly everything I had on my TBR shelf. I don't know why I didn't get to it years ago, but I didn't. I knew about it, I'd heard good things. For some reason I was convinced it was a kids series. It's not, it's definitely an adult series. Yeah, I don't know why I hadn't got to this. I loved it when I did finally get to it. I really, really enjoyed this series so far, and I am currently reading book 3. So, this series follows our character called Ayla, and Ayla is a young girl. She is aged 5 years old when an earthquake hits her community. This is set about 35,000 years ago, where we have Cro-Magnon people and Neanderthals living on Earth and crossing one another's paths. Ayla is a Cro-Magnon who is separated from her people by a major earthquake. She is abandoned. She doesn't know where she is. She's only 5 years old. She gets attacked by a cave lion and she ends up hiding in a cave until some other people who are Neanderthals come along and claim her as one of their clan to take and raise and hopefully introduce her to the clan ways. Ayla is then raised as part of the clan. She has to realise that things are very different in the clan from how she has currently been raised. The clan members do not really talk. They tend to use hand signals as words and ways of communicating. Body language and emphasis and stance and eye contact, etc. all feature very prominently as part of their language, but vocalization is not something that is easy for clan members because of their body and the way they are made. And so Ayla has to completely rework her whole brain and figure out a way to connect with them, to learn from them, and to become part of the clan. What I really enjoyed about this book is not only Ayla's tenacity and the way that she bounces back time and time again after so many problems hit her, but also the way that Jean M. Auel has clearly done her research. She has clearly thought deeply about how life may have been for people of this time period. There are so many things that are super duper interesting, really made me think about the time period and the people that would have lived then and how they would survive in very harsh weather conditions, in very tricky situations, having to scavenge, having to hunt for every meal that they had. And I really, really liked the way that she wrote the story in a simplistic but very brutal and raw way. I would even go so far as to say that she kind of reminds me a little bit of Robin Hobb and of J.B. Jones and Lewis McMaster Bujold in the way that she writes. All of those authors are authors I really, really enjoy, and I think she emanates all of those, or maybe they emanate her. But they all kind of come from a similar era of writing, and I think maybe that's why it works so well for me. This is a book that came out in 1980 originally, so it's definitely an older book, but it feels super current to me in terms of just being a really refreshing read. It's not like nearly every fantasy I've read. It is definitely different on the focus. It's definitely toned down on the magic. There is magic. There is kind of totems which are believed by the clan to be a spirit animal who has a kinship with you and who guides you through life. And Ayla's totem is decided to be the cave lion because a cave lion cornered and scratched her when she was in the cave and she survives. And so they believe the cave lion has marked her and chosen her and is her totem. However, this is one of the strongest totems that is out there, and most people in the clan believe this is only a male totem, and the fact that Ayla, a young female, has it is very kind of jarring for them. They don't really know how to process it or deal with it. But as Ayla grows up, it becomes quite clear quite quickly that she has both skills and hindrances from her race. She is very good at thinking outside of the box and doing things in inventive ways, but this is not at all following clan culture, and she finds herself kind of walled in a lot of the time. She's not able to express herself or do things that she thinks would be better because it's not clan ways, and so she kind of learns to force herself to fit in with the group, to become part of them. And along the way there is love. She does find a family of sorts. She does find some real acceptance in the clan, but there is a lot of tension between her and a particular male of the clan, which causes a lot of problems for her growing up. And eventually Ayla is forced to make a decision about what she should do by the end of this book. Of course, many other things happen too. I don't want to give any of them away, but it is excellent. I really enjoyed this book, and I was so surprised by quite how much I loved it. I thought I would, but I just genuinely totally loved it, and I would recommend the audiobook. I have been listening to the audiobooks for these, and I really liked them. But equally, I think this is just such a good read, however you consume it, and it was so interesting throughout the whole read to imagine these cultures, to feel like I could think deeply about something I never even really considered before. So I really loved it. Evolution plays a huge part in this book with Ayla, and sort of uncovering her story and uncovering her potential. And also the spirits and the animals and the magic comes in as a part of the story too, which makes it just that little bit more exciting, because everyone knows that history is great, but history and magic is even better. So it's definitely not completely factual. There are plenty of things that Jean M. Auel has made up with artistic license, but it's super interesting and super thought-provoking, and I really loved it. So I would certainly recommend giving it a try. And Ayla is such a good character, like so good. She's amazing. I mean, I'm on book 3 now. She's amazing. So I gave this one in the series 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. Then I went straight on to reading the second book, which is The Ballet of Horses. This book follows 2 main characters. So in the first book we are predominantly focusing on Ayla, but in the second book we focus on 2 different storylines. The first is Ayla's storyline as she goes to live alone and she starts to become a young woman rather than a girl. She is off to seek the others and try and find out more about her heritage and her culture and where she comes from, but she is doing so alone because of previous events from book 1, which I won't go into. And she is kind of abandoned. She's kind of completely isolated from everything she has ever known and everyone she has ever known. So she is completely and totally depending on her own skills and her own ingenuity to survive. The other storyline that we pick up in this book is Jondalar, and Jondalar is a part of a very different clan of people. He comes from far over to the west, and his people are Cro-Magnon people who do vocalize, so they speak rather than using hand signals. They are a lot more developed in terms of fighting, in terms of hunting and equipment than many of the clan members that Ayla was raised with. And in this book we are introduced to his culture as he and his brother go on a journey, a long journey, to go on an adventure, find out about themselves and hopefully find what is at the end of the Great Mother River. However, as you may have guessed, the 2 storylines do intertwine later on in the book, and we end up seeing the 2 of them forced into a situation where they have to learn from one another and they have to become part of one another's world. And this makes for some really interesting moments where I think the 2 cultures are very different, but because Ayla is such a tenacious young character, she is able to work with this completely stranger and develop her skills and teach him some things that he never even knew. So I really enjoyed it, and I definitely think it's a great continuation. I will say I think the first half of this book is largely development because it is introducing this new character, and although that is great in the long term, it was kind of slow at times, so I couldn't quite give this 5 stars. I ended up giving it a 4.5, but I really did enjoy the second half. I thought it was excellent, and there were some moments in Ayla's storyline in particular that I absolutely loved. For instance, when she met Winnie and when she met Baby. I won't say any more about those 2 characters, but if you've read it you know who they are, and they are so good. I really enjoyed their storylines and the joy and the love that they brought to Ayla in her loneliness. So fantastic, fantastic elements to bring into the book as well. I definitely enjoyed this series super loads. I really, really am looking forward to finding out more about Ayla and her storyline, and book 3 so far is great, so I can't wait to read the rest of them. I think there are 6 in the series, so quite a few still to go, and I'm very excited about it. If you have read this series, do let me know in the comments below. If you've never read it, definitely go and pick up the first and try it because it is great. I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye!
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.